everyone. Welcome to our event today. Okay, well, we have people from all over, so good night to those in that part of the world. Good afternoon and good morning. Today's topic, personally, I've been really excited about today's panel because of our panelists, but also the topic is really close to my heart and what we do. So I'm Joanna Molina, I'm one of the co-founders of the Intent Group. Here at the Intent Group, we help you realize your potential through international internship programs. We offer remote, hybrid, and in-person opportunities to talent across the globe. So today's topic is about moving abroad and building a life and career in a new country. We understand that that can be absolutely nerve-wracking to go to a new country. I lived it myself, learn new things from scratch. So you might have to learn a new language, learn a new culture, get used to a new environment, while also trying to build a life for yourself as well. So in today's session, we're going to talk to people that have done exactly that and hear how they navigated those challenges, how they managed to make it work in a new country. So let's jump into our speakers. I'm super excited to introduce our amazing speakers, Alicia, Havana, and Walter. If you have any questions, by the way, you can ask our speakers, you can put it in the chat. You can also ask them anonymously in our Slido, which is a link where you can put it and don't put your name. We'll be checking in throughout the chat and the conversation and asking them live. You can also raise your hand as well and ask live. That we love live questions. So let's start off getting to know each of our speakers. Please, can you introduce yourself, your journey, you moved from, where you went, what inspired that decision? That's like 3 questions in the first question. Let's start with Alicia, please.
Thank you so much, Joanna, for that brilliant introduction. I want to welcome everyone in the panel. Thank you for taking that step and being here to hear from our stories. That's very valuable. I'm super proud to be a TIC alumni, and I'm very happy to be here. So as Joanna said, my name is Alicia. I am from Lima, Peru. Back in 2021, I wanted to do something different with my life. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. So that's how I found the intern group. And then, well, to be honest, I didn't have a clear clue of where to go, which is fine. Maybe many of you might be feeling maybe a bit like that. So you don't have to have everything perfect or a decision ready. So actually the intern group was also a great advisor for me. I told them like where I wanted to get more experience in which was marketing and fashion, like 2 of my passions. So one of the best programs was in London. So I trusted you guys and I said, right, let's go to London. The United Kingdom was a country that I've never visited before, and it was never in my plans to go. So that's how I started. I said like, right, I believe in fate. So if this opportunity was coming to my life and London was chosen, I was like, I need to hear where life wants to take me. So yeah, that's how I got prepared, and I did a marketing internship for a British menswear fashion brand here in London, where I am right now, which I hope to like dig a bit more, like how I ended up here after my program. But yeah, and I absolutely love it, and I couldn't be more happier of my decision.
Definitely lots of follow-up questions for you, Alicia, but thank you for sharing that initial part. So from Peru, Lima, going to London and still there. Walter, how about you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation to be here today, and to your incredible team for organizing everything. And thanks to the audience for joining us. I scrolled through the names and I actually see some familiar names. So there's some of my friends, colleagues, and acquaintances in the audience. So thanks for that, everybody. I'll provide a bit of context about sort of myself and my journey. I was born in the 1970s, and I think that's relevant to the discussion today because that, of course, has influenced who I am. At the risk of oversharing, but I think also relevant to the discussion, I'm the only child of a single father in the 70s. and I went to 6 different schools between grades 1 and 8. So I was very comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think that sort of predisposed me to, being comfortable living overseas, because by the very nature of living overseas, you're going to be uncomfortable. And so that was normal for me. I was always the new kid at school. I was always having to make new friends at school. And so when I went overseas, it was just sort of the same thing, but on a different scale. I went to Korea in 1998. And just for context, google.com was registered as a URL in 1997. And the company itself was formed as a company in 1998. So I did all my planning to go overseas pre-Google. So you can imagine how different it was. I think another quick important thing is what inspired the decision. As I said, I think I was predisposed for that type of experience, but I also want to give a shout out to a good friend. I went to Korea on the advice of a friend, and that friend had gone before me. And as a matter of fact, he didn't like it. He liked it so little that he came back to Canada early. He was supposed to be there for a year. He came back after 7 months. But he realized that Korea had many things to offer, and that the reason he didn't like it was more his personality. And he recognized that my personality might be well suited to Korea. And so he recommended that I go. And what do you know? I lived there for 21 years. So I think he was right. Korea did match my personality quite well. So that's a little bit about who I am, where I went, and what inspired that decision.
Fabulous. Walter, it's a pleasure having you here. So from
Thank you.
Canada to South Korea, I can't wait to hear all about that. And I'm sure lots of people have lots of questions. Let's hear from you, Havana. Where are you from? Where are you currently? Where did you go?
Thank you, everybody, for being here and for the intern group for putting all this together. My name is Havana, and I am from Spain, from Madrid specifically. However, I've been living here in the US for 6 years now. Everything started during COVID. We were all in quarantine in our houses, not doing anything outside. So I had so much time to think, and I realized that my English was awful. And I was about to start my sophomore year, no, my junior year of high school, and then college was around the corner, and I was so bad at English. I was like, okay, I think that the best thing to do is to look for a school in the US, go there for a year only, since I cannot imagine myself living abroad like for more than 1 year. I have all my family, friends, everything in Spain. So that's what I did. I sat down with my parents. We found schools all over the US. And I ended up going to South Carolina. So it's right above Florida. That's where I went. I stayed there for 1 year and I loved it so much. I made so many good friends. I learned so much about myself, about life. I became independent. I became more responsible. And I was like, well, I don't think I can leave this place anymore. So my parents did try to convince me to go back, but I was like, I just don't think I can. It was insane. So I stayed there to finish high school, and then I head into college here in the US as well. I just thought that it was the best for me to find opportunities for what I wanted to do, which was marketing and business. And there's so many opportunities here, and my English kept getting better and better. And I was just meeting so much like great people, and I kept growing as a person. That's what I did. I stayed 5 years in South Carolina, and I've been almost a little bit over half a year, yeah, here in New York. I'm doing my master's, and at the same time, I am entering for the intern group as a experience coordinator and marketing, and I'm just loving it so far. Moving abroad has been a life-changing decision that I'll never like see negatively. Like it's just been getting better as time went by.
Well, your English is absolutely perfect. And so one of your first initial desire is accomplished. Let's stay with you, Havana, on what do you think are those initial challenges that you faced when you arrived, the first few weeks or months? What were those challenges? How did you overcome them?
So it was definitely tough because I decided to come here to the US when I was 16 years old. So I was like really young. Many people are like, that's insane. Like how, like you must be like so like mentally mature to move abroad by yourself at 16 years old. So that was one of the main challenges I faced, just living by myself at a boarding school, having to do my own laundry, have to do my grocery shopping, going to a random place, not knowing the language, not knowing anyone. So that's something I had to learn as days went by, having to step out of my comfort zone, not being afraid to speak up or go to someone and be like, hey, just make a conversation in order to know people and do some research online about how can I, live by myself at these ages. So those are challenges I face. However, you need to truly be mentally prepared to and brave to step out of your comfort zone, and everything that you're scared to do at your hometown, at your home country, you need to forget that like worriness and go ahead and do it abroad. It may even seem harder because you're by yourself abroad, you don't know the language, you don't know the people. But at the end of the day, I think that it just come with results. It's really hard to go out there, but you're always gonna find great people, great help, and you're gonna see your own learning. Sometimes I would be like, wow, I see myself like an adult. I would have never imagined myself doing this kind of stuff in Spain, and now I'm doing it. So it definitely comes with great, like results after, and you can see them as well as a non-individual. You can see it.
That's pretty impressive. How about Alicia? What were your challenges at the beginning when you first moved to London?
I definitely resonate with what Havana said. Before going to my trip, first of all, I didn't want to have any expectations. That's why I feel like getting closer to my intern date, I wasn't feeling really anxious, but there was always this fear of the unknown, and also going back to Mr. Walter, like I'm an only child as well, but like in my case, I was such an overprotective daughter. So for me also like leaving my parents, leaving everything I know in Peru was super scary. And also I had this fear back in my head, like what if I fail? What if it goes wrong? So I had to do a lot of like mindfulness, like self-reflection, getting to know myself, and also like quiet, like I had to silence all these fears in my head and just, like giving in and just enjoy the process and like enjoy my experience as it went. So the first challenge I had coming to London was the jet lag. The jet lag, I fell asleep the whole week of my internship because I just couldn't wake up. But my managers were like super understanding with that with me. Also, I had this like I wanted to fit in, so I had to learn new things, but also unlearn many things from where I came from, and I think that was one of like the hardest parts. uh, Even though I learned English all my life, I learned the American English, but when I came here to the UK, I was like, oh no, I don't understand. I felt like I knew zero English. And that was very frustrating for me. And also when I was speaking with people in the streets and they tell me their slangs, oh, this is 10 quid, or like, where to lose? And I was like, oh my God, like, what is this? So I had to relearn English. Also this fear of loneliness, as Havana said, like I didn't know anybody here. So that was one of the hardest thing I had to overcome the first week of my program, like this feeling homesick. But at the end of the day, I met friends, I met other fellow Peruvians, and I met this funny character in London. I don't know if you heard the Paddington Bear, and he's from Peru. So he kind of like helped me overcome. He made it, I can make it as well. So yeah, I think it was a very fruitful experience, and you grow as a person, you grow as a human being, like you open your minds and your horizons. And I think we have to face this kind of experiences, to actually transform and develop ourselves. So yeah, those were a bit of a challenge. I started from zero as well. I had a life built in Peru, so you have to get your document, get a bank account. Okay, right, how does it tube work? And it can be a bit overwhelming the first week. So like a checklist is very useful, and asking people like, okay, right, how do I get this sorted? But yeah, I'll say the first week is like settling in it can be tough, but after you got everything is just so smooth. Yeah.
I resonate with you so much because I also, as a Colombian, went to London and I thought I knew a little bit of English, but I had to start almost from scratch. It's just very different. The accent, I was like, oh gosh, lots of stories there. But on that same topic, because definitely language barrier is one of the key challenges for you, Walter, going from Canada to Korea, like what were those challenges, including, I imagine, language?
Yeah, so I think today, Korea has a pretty well-known reputation, if I may even say it's kind of a cultural powerhouse. Safe to say that really wasn't the case in 1998. To give some perspective, when I went to Korea in 1998, the complete foreign population of South Korea was 300,000 people. That means there were only 299,999 other foreigners and me. Today, that number I think is closer to 3 million. So with 3 million non-Koreans in Korea, I think it's safe to say there's a pretty robust support system for that. But again, in 98 with 300,000 foreigners, that wasn't there. But, that could be a challenge. And I think at the time, it may have been or felt like a challenge. But looking back, I think that was actually quite beneficial to my journey in Korea because there weren't those support systems. There wasn't a lot of English. And I was not in Seoul. I was in another city, not South Korea, which would be Busan, but I was just a little bit north of Busan in a city called Daegu. And so Daegu was a smaller city, but still, millions of people. But even fewer foreigners in Daegu. So literally, people would point from second floor coffee shops. They would point and say, "Oh my God, there's a foreigner!" Run out and want to touch the hair on my arms and take pictures with me because they had literally never seen someone who's not Korean. And today that's unimaginable in most places in Korea. But those were sort of challenges, the lack of infrastructure. Looking back, I think they actually really helped me because you had to sink or swim. You had to learn the systems. You had to learn a bit of Korean, and I ended up learning a fair amount. Or you just couldn't really survive. There weren't the support systems there. So for me, that was maybe kind of a challenge. And then interestingly, my challenges started before I even left, because again, arrived in 1998. Also interestingly, I left Canada on March 23rd, 1998. And Joa, your invitation for me to speak at this event came to me on March 23rd, 2026. So 28 years to the day. So that was kind of neat. But my challenges started before I even left because in 1997, there was an Asian financial crisis sweeping across Asia, and Korea was hugely impacted by that, the so-called IMF crisis in Korea. So, I had planned to go in 97, and then I delayed that because the economy and other things related to that Asian financial crisis. But eventually I just said, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'm just going to go. And I think for me, that's kind of an important element to these types of experiences. You can't wait for the perfect moment because it doesn't exist, because things are going to be so different, as we've heard from the other two panelists today, that if you wait, you're just going to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. So my advice would be just do it, just jump in. And I think, organizations like the intern group certainly help with that now, with those on the ground sort of settlement services and people to help you with that built-in infrastructure. I think that's hugely important. And it's great that there are services like yours, Joa, that offer that.
Thank you, Walter. We're getting quite a lot of questions as well on the slide, so keep them up because some of them I'm going to start also asking. Related to what you just said, Walter, there is a question here. How sure you need to be about a specific country to do well there or be motivated to make the move? Are preconceptions really of any value?
I mean, I can speak to my own experience. I knew a little bit about Korea from, some movies and some TV and things like that. Again, born in the 70s. So there was a very famous US television show called MASH, which was about the Korean War. And of course, you know about the Korean War and those things. But, my friend had been there. And I think had he not gone there, had he gone to, say, Japan or China, I probably would have ended up going there. So for me, it really wasn't the preconceived notions of the destination. It's just the looking for a different experience. And I think that also seems to be what the other panelists were referring to it, not to put words in the mouth, but that's how I understood. Like you're just looking for something new and for something different. And like my friend, it wasn't Korea, so he left. But for me, it was like I knew the moment I stepped off the plane, it was a literal physical sensation. There was a vibe in the air that I could feel, and I felt at home immediately. Of course, it felt very alien. There, didn't speak the language. Everything was different, and all of that. But somewhere amongst that, it felt like home, and it still does.
Absolutely. And would you like to add, Havana, something?
Yes, yes. I don't want to, I wanted to add to what Walter was saying because I think that taking that first step can be scary. And I think that we always have a plan in mind. We're like, we have our future, like we're gonna do this and this is gonna happen, and then I'm gonna have a family. However, sometimes life doesn't go the way we have planned. So I remember before I came to the US, my dream was New York, New York, New York. And I thought I was just gonna like find a school in New York and move here at 16 and be here a year. And that's it. But it takes so long, like getting to the place you actually want to be at, or finding that place where you actually feel that sense of I belong here, can take a while. Like some people are lucky, what Walter was saying, as soon as I landed, I had something in me that was this place. However, when I went to South Carolina, which is, kind of like in the middle of nowhere where I was, I was like, well, this is not what I expected, but I did learn a lot, and that's the place that took me to where I always wanted to be, which was New York. After I finished undergrad, I was applying for master degrees, and I applied in London, in Dubai, in Spain, in Ireland, like so many places, but I just knew I wanted to be New York. And all of those years before that took me here, which was my dream place. So if you're open to taking that step of moving abroad, you may not feel that sense of I want to stay here for the rest of my life at that first destination, but I think that's something really beautiful of moving abroad, because you're gonna sense so many feelings and so many opinions and different things that are gonna help you truly know what you really want for your future, or learn, or just a path or of where to get or where you want to be. Yeah.
Exactly, and especially you at 16. I mean, we have one person here in the chat. Camila said, going to China sounds so scary. What would you say to Camila? You did it from Spain to the US at 16. How do you control that fear?
It was definitely scary. More so was the middle of COVID, and I do think that nowadays so many things go around the world that maybe moving to a certain destination can be scary. However, I think that the first thing you need to know, like you need to make sure you know where you're going. So do some research, make sure you know that how do people live in a certain place, so you don't get there and suddenly are shocked, because one of the main challenges of going abroad is going abroad and buckle up, and anything that happens, like it's a growth. Not every day is going to be perfect, not every day is going to be happy. You just need to know how to act in certain ways and know how to overcome challenges. So being able to truly research and know where you're actually going, try to connect with people beforehand, get to know word to word, how is this place like, how how to live and what to do in order to introduce yourself better in a certain environment. I think it's the best thing you can do. That's gonna definitely not take away the scariness, but it's gonna truly help you be more calm and feel more prepared in order to moving to a new place.
Yes, great advice. Alicia, question for you on our chat. So, how can how do you deal with the culture shocks or language barriers? What was your case there?
Okay, so well, in terms of the language part, as I was saying, when I came here, it was very frustrating because I didn't know the vast majority of not only like the slangs or different idioms, but also when people were making jokes and I didn't understand the context of the jokes, or when I was trying to have some British friends and they were telling me, oh, have you seen this Netflix show, or things that were happening, and I wasn't aware of it, of anything. But I was lucky enough to have colleagues and friends that were very patient with me, that they were, the company I was going to was expecting me, so they were very good at helping me, showing me the places that I needed to know. And little by little, I was learning new words and how to use them. Also, now there's a lot of blogs or website that you can search for on the internet, and you can say like, okay, right, what are the some common British quotes that you can learn and stuff. So I would say just like getting to know people. Also something that I think is really important. Like I try my best to keep myself busy beside my, like after my internship. So I something I love. I love tennis. I love working out. So I sign up for like a gym, and then going to tennis and going to activities. So I get to know more people, and that's how I overcame that fear, and I kind of try to break that barrier of the language. Like if you have a fear or something you want to improve on, you have to also find the ways on how to get better. So yeah, speaking with people was, I think, one of the solutions that I found. And also cultural shock. Well, for me it was good because, like, for instance, here English people have their dinner very early, like 6 p.m. we're having dinner. Whereas in Peru back home, we're eating at 11. But then it was a bit of a shock for me at first. But then I started loving it because, you don't go to bed like with a full belly, and then it actually made me feel better. So I kind of like took that habit to my life. Also, tea with milk was something that back in my country, I was like, no way, I'm going to put milk in my tea. And I was like, oh, that might taste like a bit weird, But when I tried it, I overcame that. I don't know what it was, like that prejudice or like misconception you had in your head. And I tried it and I love it. And that was part of me. Like after dinner, I have to have my English tea with my milk. So I would say, like, just come with an open mind, say yes to everything, and try new things. As we were saying, like, yeah, if you might like some things, you might not like some things, and that's okay. And something I wanted to comment on with what Havana said, if it doesn't work out in this trip, you just have to always think, okay, what did I learn? Where this experience is leading my life to, and like just being grateful what you live in, because at the end of the day, if you work hard, you're gonna get where you want to get. So yeah, I think those were some tips on like how I overcame the language and the culture shock.
May I interject just with a couple points? Coming back to the preconceptions, I just want to say, I think what Habana said and what we're all saying, it's important to be prepared as you can be. But I think being prepared is very different than having a preconception about a place. So I would encourage people to be prepared, as we've talked about, but to avoid preconceptions. Because I think, if you have a preconception about some place, about what it's going to be, you may be disappointed because it won't fulfill that. It won't meet that expectation. So be prepared, but don't hold things up in such a lofty position that you're thinking, oh, it's going to be great. And I think this comes back to a point Alicia mentioned about culture shock, or at least this whole topic of culture shock. For me, the best way to deal with culture shock is to expect it. So you're getting on an airplane and you are flying for 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 hours. Expect that things will be different when you get off that plane on the other side. If you're expecting them to be the same, you're setting yourself up for failure, and perhaps going abroad is not for you. Expect things to be different, because they will be. And if you're expecting it to be different, at least in my case, it was very helpful to then not have, or at least to overcome quickly, these culture shocks. So a couple of points there about preconceptions and culture shock. And also the biggest point I think Elisa hit on, say yes to everything, unless it's illegal. But say yes or dangerous. But if it's not illegal and not dangerous, say yes. Get involved. Like that's another great way to overcome culture shock. Get out there, get involved, say yes. And that for me, saying yes, and I think we'll talk about this later about experiences that you had that were unexpected. That was the biggest key to any success that I had overseas was saying yes. If an opportunity came to me, unequivocally, without hesitation, I would say yes. And that served me very well.
That's wonderful. We have about like 4 or 5 questions around preparation. So let me like summarize in just one. If I were to ask each one of you, what are the 2 or 3 things you recommend people to do as research or prepare themselves prior to going abroad? What would be those ones that you say, okay, well, before going abroad, do these things? Walter, what will you say? And then we go around.
Honestly, it's difficult for me because I did this so long ago, right? 1998, pre-Google. So very different worlds. Perhaps it's a flippant answer, but I would say, talk to Joanna and her team. That's what they're there for. They'll prepare you.
Alicia and Havana, anything that you will recommend if you're going abroad, what would you like to prepare for?
I think that, and now us, I think that everybody, which is, just trying to build their professional path, I think that we're moving abroad with a purpose. Because if you don't have a purpose and going on vacation, that's how I see it. So I need to have my goals really clear and knowing that if I'm moving abroad, I want to accomplish them. I came to the US wanting to learn English, but now I'm here in New York with setting stone goals that they're not gonna like go away off my mind, and I'm gonna work every day towards them. I'm gonna meet the right people, do the right activities, do the right things. So I think that you need to truly know why you are going abroad and don't forget it. Like, yeah, obviously you have to enjoy and have fun, but if you're truly trying to build your professional career, if you're gonna do an internship abroad, you need to get the most out of it and learn as much as possible and network and just go for it. Like, go for everything. And yeah, just mentally prepared to, have goals and go for them.
Thank you, Havana. Alicia.
Yeah, I love what Havana said, especially like have clarity in your intention, because you might come to this country like 4 or 5 weeks. I don't know how long your internship is gonna be, and you don't want to waste time. Time is like something that you cannot gain back, and then you don't want it to be like the end of your internship and it's time to go back to your country, and it's like, okay, wow, right, I haven't met anyone, I haven't tick any goal that I have. So clarity in your intention is something important. I will say as well, setting realistic expectations as well. Like, I didn't want to come here to London and say, right, I'm going to meet the Queen of England, or being, I don't know, the next Lady D. Because you also, you have to be realistic. And as we were saying before, researching the country, take good care of your financials. So be like the first day I came to London, I went to the supermarket, I went crazy. Like, I saw different products, I saw everything, and I spent like half of what I would have for budget, just like groceries. So be very smart on your finances. There's a website, I think it's called Numbeo or something, Numbeo, that you can check like the cost of living of each country. I think that's something very important to have. If you're getting support from your family or getting a loan, you want to be smart in your finances. And third is like being mentally prepared for uncertainty, because as we were all saying, like, it's going to be tough, you're going to get challenges. I came to London and it's like a big city, everything can happen, like from good or bad experiences. Like, I don't know, but I got my AirPods like in my first experience, but it can happen, it happens everywhere in the world. And not for that I'm gonna think, right, London is the worst place in the world. Like, no, I love London. Like, I find it my home. Like, found you have to also focus on the positive more than in the negative. So I think those are like some important things to keep in mind.
Really key. And you also mentioned earlier about like what I would describe as support system or support network, joining a gym or practicing some sort of sport or something like that. Even prior to going to that place, looking online, what are the groups I can go and join? And honestly, I will say allow life to surprise you, because things might not happen as you want them to, but take them as an adventure. Like personally, when I moved to London, I wanted to work in finance. I didn't have that chance, and that's why we created the intern group. So I allowed myself to be surprised. Sometimes things don't go our way, as Havana said, but it can be even better at the end of the day. So moving a little bit more into this conversation with Walter, for example, I'd love to hear, how did moving abroad influence your career? Like, tell us more about how that experience in Korea influenced you, what doors or opportunities opened that you didn't expect.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to imagine being where I am now in the position I am now without that experience. Of course, I'd have some experiences, but it's just really, if I think back on all that I've done, it all goes back to that March 23rd, 1998, getting on a plane. I met my wife in Korea. I've made lifelong friends in Korea. I had professional opportunities in Korea, networking, wrote books, was on the radio, was on TV, was in movies, did it literally all, volunteered at the World Cup, volunteered at the Olympics, volunteered at the F1, like just anything I could do, I did. And that comes back, I think, to Elisa's point, just say yes, because the key, and it's hard it can be hard to say yes, because, when I was asked to do something, I thought, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. That's scary. It's frightening, and I don't know how to do that. And if I don't do it well, it's going to be terrible. So the reflex might be to say no for those reasons. But the one thing I learned was, if someone's asking you to do it, they've already decided you're the right person for it, right? I'm worried that I'm not the right person, but they've asked me to do this, so they must think they see something. Maybe not everything, but at least they see something. So that's my rationale for always saying yes, even though I feel I might not know. And sometimes I legitimately didn't know. So you just figure it out later, right? Say yes and figure it out later. And that attitude and the timing of being in Korea when I was in Korea opened up huge opportunities. As I said, for my life, I met my wife, and my family now is based in Korea, or, half of it at least. Professional opportunities in my job. I work in international relations here at the University of the Fraser Valley in Canada. That certainly was molded from my experiences in Korea. I used to get involved with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce there, and that certainly helped. There were lots of media work that came my way, and that came to me, I think, somewhat legitimately, because also while I was in Korea, my wife and I moved to Australia to study. So we were both international students in another country, albeit quite similar to Canada, but very different than Korea. So we were both international students studying. I studied communications, so came back to Korea, and then had all these wonderful opportunities in TV and radio, and one very terrible movie, but still a good experience. So the key takeaway, say yes, be prepared for the unexpected. And if somebody approaches you with an opportunity, they see something in you. So don't prove them wrong. Take it.
I love that. I really, really love that. Alicia, how about you? Why are you still in London? Clearly, some opportunities happened there. Tell us, what didn't you expect?
Well, 100%. To be fair, when my internship finished, I couldn't wait to be back in Peru, because I know my family, my friends. Then when I went back, something in me was changed. Like, I was not the same person, and I had this like little bug in my head, like, you have to come back. Like, it was a great experience. So I started searching for my next opportunity, and I said, right, I'm gonna study my master's degree in London. And it was great because I had everything ready, like, because all the due diligence I had to do for the intern group, I said, perfect, I'll just have it and present it to university. Also, I met amazing people when I was in my internship, and I did my master's. I came back in 2023. Of course, the beginning, uh, visa constraints. I was not expecting to be where I wanted to be. You have to sometimes. I was a hostess when I started. Um, freelancing, to survive. And yeah, in during my journey of growth, I met amazing people. Like I used to have like my own company back home about beauty pageants. And while I was being a hostess in this restaurant, one Miss Universe entered the restaurant, and I recognized her because I'm such a fan of beauty pageants. And I think, oh my God, you are Miss Universe 2011. It's like something I never imagined like I would leave. And I just went there. So networking is very important, and you don't have to be scared of anything. So I just went there, like, right, what's the worst thing that will happen? She will say like, don't what no. But then if I don't, if at least I don't try, I don't want to have this like what if in my head. So I just went there, say, hi, my name is Elisa from Peru. I have this beauty pageant back in my country. Like, do you want to go to Peru? And she said yes. So, and that led me to another, like, then she introduced me to another Miss Universe friend. So I met two Miss Universe. And that was great. Then little by little, speak, as I said, networking with people, they present you to opportunities. And as Walter was saying, you have to say yes to everything. And right now I got like the role that I wanted. I work in social media and events. Is something I'm very passionate about. But it wasn't an easy path. Like I've been here 3 years, and this job I just got it like a month ago. So it's not that happened overnight. There were so many experiences, housing or challenges, but I think that life will present you these obstacles, and then you have to build that resilience and just overcome them. And like I think these obstacles and challenges that I had in London like just reinforce and increase my willing to stay. And it just makes you prepared for life. So I'm very happy. Like I never thought I would be leaving a scene like London is like amazing. Like last like 2 months ago, I saw also like a famous Instagram in the city, and you kind of think like just watching these people and meeting people that are better than you, that have achieved things, inspires you as well. Inspire me a lot. So I'm definitely like a different person. I also like London is very competitive, as I say. So it was very hard for me to find a job. So that pushed me to learn new skills, so that my CV. I sign up for like courses. There are companies that are doing like free trainings as well. Last month, I joined to MC Sachi Open House, and where this company teaches you for free about PR and comms. So yeah, basically it was working on my employability. So yeah, I truly love the process, love the field, and love where I am right now and where I'm heading to.
Exactly, because it is a process constantly. While we are here, while we are alive, it's always going to be a growing process and a learning process. For you, Havana, what would you say, Havana, about yeah, what has your career evolved to, and what are you expecting to as well?
I truly think that everything that Walter and Alicia said are, the key pillars, I think, to, see a success. For example, the say yes to everything. So I used to be a student athlete in college, and I remember one thing my coach would say is like finish the competition without any regrets. Because if you have regrets, then that's going to be worse. So I think whenever you are abroad, even if it sounds super silly, something, it's gonna always add value to you. I came a little bit different from the other panelists. So I came really young, and I was not thinking like professionally wise when I first came. I was 16. But I remember my first year at my boarding school, I joined the play and I was playing sports and everything. That led me to my second year of high school. Here in the US, I won state championship for competitive cheerleading, which was amazing. Like that means my team was the best one in the whole state. That led me to getting a athlete D1 scholarship for college. Like who would have said that I was gonna join like a cheer team just for the experience, just to tell my friends from Spain that I'm a cheerleader. And I ended up getting a D1 scholarship for college. And in college, I got so many other opportunities that sometimes my friends would be like, why are you doing so much? Why are you doing so much? Like, I was a student ambassador, a resident assistant, I was selected for senator. And my friends would be like, you're already an athlete. I graduated a year early. So in 3 years, everybody would be like, why are you doing this to yourself? It's like, well, you never know. Like, I'm going to say yes to everything and I'm going to learn. And if nothing comes out of it, like, professionally wise, at least I gained the skills, I gained the experience. And everything that I did in college helped me get into like a really good school here in New York City. And I think that all of the activities I did in college, such as resident assistant or RA, student ambassador, helped me, for example, get my internship here at the intern group because I was all the time being with international students or students that moved away from home for college or for whatever reason. So everything you do, it's gonna impact you in a positive way, I would say. Just, professionally or as a person, just helping you be more independent, more responsible, more mature. So don't have any regrets. Say yes to everything, what the rest said, and yeah, it's just gonna be amazing.
If you were to describe only in one strength, what would be that one strength that you developed as a result of living abroad, Havana?
Adaptable, I think it's the best one. You have to adapt to any situation that comes by. It's not easy. Like Walter was saying, the culture difference is going to be like different everywhere you go. There's going to be a cultural shock. You're going to meet people that act differently, think differently. The food is going to be differently. Like I remember my first year, I saw someone was asking about like the diet thing. The first year in the US, oh my goodness, I gained like crazy weight. Like it was insane. Like so you just have to adapt. Like all the time it's not gonna go well and you're gonna make mistakes and that's fine. You just need to know how to adapt, how to go from there. I don't know if somebody would be interested in like New York. New York is a really hard city. Like it's really cool and really fun and everyone's dream. But to live here is actually really tough. It's something I really did not expect when I first moved here. I visited New York before coming here 14 times. It's been always my dream city. I came here 14 times and it has nothing to do with living here. Like sometimes you cry, sometimes you laugh, sometimes you love your life, sometimes it's like I want to go back to Spain. But you need to be adaptable in order to get to your final goal and learn and just reach your dreams. So yeah.
Yeah, one person asked, what happens if it doesn't work out? What will you say to that person, Havana?
Um, I think that working out, it's very different per case by case. I don't know what for this person would mean working out or not. For example, me, eh, it depends on the stages of your life. So, for example, when I was in high school here in the US, working out is if I don't get into a college in the US because I wanted to stay here. So if it doesn't work out, my parents always says, I'm gonna try to translate it from Spanish, but my parents always say, not no, all paths take to Rome or something like that. They say something like that, meaning that you have a plan in mind. However, if it doesn't work out in that exact moment, it doesn't mean it's not gonna work out in a few years. What I said earlier, I wanted to go to New York the first time I came here 6 years ago, and I had to be 6 years fighting to be where I'm at right now, which I'm really happy and making my dream come true. So if it doesn't work out, think about it, it's not working out in that moment. But there's a million different ways to get back to that path you want to take and reach your end destination, your end goal. So that's how I like to see it. It's not dark. Like sometimes it may seem like it, but you need to kind of like scratch that away, whatever is not working out, and find other ways in order to get to that point.
100%. Walter, what would be that one strength you developed?
Yeah, I really thought about this one a lot because the first word that came to my mind was resilience, but I don't think that's it really, because for me, resilience means in the face of adversity, like you're responding and adapting to negative situations. And of course, that's part of it. But I think the one trait that developed most in me through my experience going abroad and living abroad and working abroad and studying abroad, not resilience. I thought maybe versatility, but then I thought versatility sounds too general and too superficial. So I landed on the word elasticity. And maybe that's being quite pedantic to focus that much on those meaning of words. But for me, looking back, especially because I did leave Korea in 2019, so I'm back in Canada full time now. But I was there for more than 20 years, and I'm still connected to there certainly, and will be for life. And I think that's probably the best word to describe what I gained from that experience: elasticity. So you can stretch, but you don't break. And I think that picks up on what Habana was saying. The question about what do you do if it doesn't work out? That's not an option. It will work out. You may not hit the target you were aiming for, but you'll hit something. And that something may be better than the target you were aiming for. It may not be objectively, but you'll hit something. So not working out truly, if for me, was not an option, because regardless of what I was doing, it was good. I wasn't starving in the streets. So everything was fine. So for me, it's elasticity, the ability to stretch, to change shapes, bend but not break, always be yourself, but always be morphing into something else as well. So final answer, elasticity.
Fabulous. So we have adaptability, elasticity. Alicia, what will you say? That's the one striking
Not
that I
easy to
love.
go third in this one. Sorry, Alicia.
Exactly.
That's fine. That's fine. Because I already have like my favorite word, which for me, I would say tenacity. Because tenacity is like, the quality of being very determined, someone who just doesn't quit, who keeps trying until they reach their goal. I became a very confident and secure woman after my internship. I used to be very scared of everything, doubting myself. As like, Walter was saying before, like people were saying like, yeah, you can do it. But then I was sometimes harsh with myself and saying like, no, but do you think, like doubting myself? And it's just crazy how some people sees us and we perceive ourselves different. So I was very I had to become also very confident in our sorry, in uncertainty, because moving abroad puts you in situations where you don't have all the answers professionally, personally. So also adding to the elasticity, like I have to be very flexible as well. I used to be like a control freak person, but sometimes you cannot have all the answers or you cannot control everything. So I had to be confident in the uncomfortable, and also adding to the Rome phrase. There's another phrase about Rome that I love, is that Rome was not built in a day. So that's another phrase that I always keep myself in. My boyfriend always tells me as well, and it helps me, when something is not going the way I want, or Rome wasn't built in a day, and perhaps this mistake or this failure, how you may call you, is training you to be this beautiful Colosseum one day. So yeah, I think that's I would say tenacity.
Tenacity. What a really, really great word. Havana?
Yes, I just wanted to add one super quick comment that it's after you move abroad, life doesn't kind of like stop there. You keep learning no matter how long you've been at a new place, you keep learning nonstop. Every day, you learn something new about yourself, about the city, about the culture, about the people. No matter how long you've been there, that's what happens. I'm still. And no matter the age, honestly, I came really young, and I think I just turned 22. I'm still like really young, but it's been already 6 years, and I grow every day in every aspect of my life. So don't please think that after you move, it's just gonna be done. And no, like it keeps like life changing and growing as day goes by.
Absolutely. It never stops. It never does. I can't believe we are almost at the end. So before I let you go, we promise that you can unlock a certificate. So we'll be, yes, thank you, Monami. You're super on it. That's the link for you to unlock it. So please leave your details in the form so that you can receive the certificate and the recording of this session. I've been very inspired by hearing you. I think that one thing that came to my mind in terms of words, I will say grit, which is the combination of two things, passion and perseverance. So that's a very, very cool skill to have. And as I was listening to you, I think that with one of the comments in the chat about, isn't it funny that one person's abroad is another person's home? It's like this journey that we are going in, wherever you are moving. It might feel like it's a journey that you are taking outside, but it's as much of going up outside as it is going inside. Like wherever you are, it doesn't matter. Korea, London, the UK, like US, wherever you are taking a journey also within you in discovering yourself within different environments, in different situations, which is extremely exciting. And that, of course, never ends. Before I let you go, where can they find you? Would you like to share maybe your LinkedIn in the chat? Any final comments you'd like to leave with an advice, perhaps, for people? I'm about to go abroad. What should I do? Or I don't ever want to go abroad. Then why are you joining this this call? What will you say, Walter, to people here before we go?
Thanks for that. And if people do want to find me, just Google Walter Foreman. I think I'm the first that pop up, or walterforeman.com. Yeah, just do it. Just if you have any inclination, just do it. You won't regret it. You really will not. It may be exactly what you were envisioning. It may be something entirely different, and it will be entirely different. But just do it. And if someone doesn't want to do it, everything that I achieved in Korea, it's possible to achieve that in Canada as a Canadian, because there are people doing that. But somehow just the act of being abroad made it, I wouldn't say easier, but made it more accessible in some way, and certainly made it more interesting. Like the everyday mundane things of like taking a bus are an adventure when you do it in a foreign country. So yeah, just do it.
Havana?
I left my LinkedIn on the chat, so whoever wants to connect, I would love to. If you want to chat, apart from this, I would love to help people get that step of moving abroad, no matter how young you are, what are you scared of. I think it's a great way to learn as a person and to build your future. If that's what you really want, moving abroad is not for everyone. That is the reality. But there's many people that are really scared of it, and it is actually for you. Some people, as I said, just say yes. And anything that happens when you move abroad, it's gonna help you in some way, even if you don't want to move abroad ever again. If it wasn't for you and your hometown is your place to be, that's okay. But if you
Then you
did take
know
the
that,
step,
yeah, you learned that, yeah.
yes, yeah, that's something you learn, as you say. Yeah, that's something you've learned, which is really important and really big. Then whatever comes with that. So please, let's connect and let's keep, the conversation and the relationship.
Absolutely. And Alicia?
Well, it's been a pleasure being here. I'm super grateful, super happy. I love to hear your stories, Walter and Havana. We also can connect, and like maybe we can meet one day in the middle of the world. And I also left my LinkedIn there. If anyone wants any help or any advice, I'll be more than happy to assist. And I will say, like, approach moving abroad not just as a dream, but take it as a strategy. Be intentional, stay open to learning. You're going to be exposed to different cultures, so you're going to be culturally aware of everything and understand that challenges are part of the process and not just a sign that to stop. So yeah, if you stay consistent, the opportunities will come. So yeah, just all go there with an open heart.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alicia, Havana, Walter, for joining today, for sharing your personal experiences and your journeys as well, and to everyone who joined us. I look forward to seeing
Yeah.
you perhaps in another event. Have a lovely rest of your night, sorry, night or afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much for today's space.